work. Okay, it's not about theories. Okay, that theories are only textbook based. Yes, theories can be boring. Okay, but it is boring if you are unable to relate it to everyday life. Okay, theory is not just an assumption. Okay, theory is supposed to help us understand as well as help us explain certain relationships and certain occurrences in everyday life. Okay, I'm sure all of us, okay, we all live by a certain theory. Okay, theory in a layman word is just assumption. Okay, and our assumptions about any particular relationship. Okay, for example, okay, do you know who has the most theories? Okay, who's very good at creating theories? Who?
Albert Einstein.
Pardon? Yes, Nafisa?
Einstein.
Sorry?
Einstein.
Einstein. Okay, I know someone, you know someone better than Einstein. I believe that is probably your mother. Your mother always gives you good theory, right? Okay, what kind of theory does she give to you? Okay, you better eat your breakfast. If not, what will happen if you don't eat your breakfast? Okay, she says, oh, then you become lazy throughout the day. Okay, what of other theory that she share with you? Your mother does not share you any theory?
Before we go to bed, we need to wash our hands, our legs.
Our hands, our feet.
Else we will get nightmare.
All right. Yes. Okay. Sometimes they say, oh, better wash your feet. Okay, Ahmed, have you heard of this theory? You need to wash your feet before you go to bed.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So somebody's heard of it. See, the theory came from Izati's mom. Okay? So you need to wash your feet before you go to sleep. Why? They say, oh, you'll have nightmare. They say the shaitan will come after you. All right? So is it proven or not proven?
Sometimes yes, sometimes not.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Okay, but why do you think your mother has this theory that you need to wash your feet before you go to bed?
Because she wants us to.
She wants us to clean our feet.
Yes.
Because it's for hygiene, and also because probably her mother told her the same thing. Okay, and you think, is there any reason? I mean, is there any proof to what she is saying? Probably there is a relationship that if you go to bed dirty, there will be some chemical reaction in your body, for example, that won't allow you to have a good night sleep, isn't it? All right, because your hand, your leg, your feet are all very sweaty and smelly. There will be some kind of reaction that won't allow you to have a good night sleep. And this may lead you to have nightmares, okay, to be restless at night. Can you understand? Okay, so there is some kind of reasoning behind the theory. Okay, what else? You know, there's this very traditional, okay, kampung theory in the Malay culture. They say that young girls, for example, shouldn't be sitting at the stairs in front of their houses. Have you heard of those theory? Okay, anak dara cannot sit tangga depan rumah. You know, if your house, okay, there's stairs in front of your house, girls shouldn't be sitting in front there. Okay, why? These girls in this class, they don't know because they live in the urban areas. No stairs at your house, only elevators.
Nanti tak laku.
Yes, nanti tak laku. What does that mean, Nafisa? That means, right, if you sit there in front, okay, of the stairs, okay, you will not get a husband probably. Nobody, no brothers would want you. Okay? Is there a scientific reason? Is there a proof?
No.
You want to try, girls? Go sit in front of the stairs. You want to try? Don't want to try. Everybody wants to get a husband. Okay? So obviously, logic thinking would say, come on, okay? What is the relationship? But there are many reasons why traditional moms especially would say things like that. Okay? Why wouldn't they want you to sit, okay, outside of the house, on the stairs? It's as if it's very, what we call it, impolite. Okay, they want the girls to stay in the house, okay, to be very modest, don't sit in front, you know, laughing, okay, and it's not nice when people pass by, okay, and see young girls, for example, okay, sitting in front there doing nothing. Okay, so these are traditional theories. So anything that tries to assume if you do this and this will happen, that is a theory. We are making an assumption on a particular relationship. All right, then it could be something that is quite funny or silly, like not being able to sit on the stairs in front of your house, or it could be something that is quite realistic, such as they will tell you, you need to study hard. Okay, you need to study hard, you need to score in your exams so that you can be successful in your life. Is this true or not? Generally true. But is it true 100% of the time?
No.
Not necessarily. Okay. Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates all dropped out and they became very successful. Okay. But that theory just now, okay, it is a generalization. It is not true 100% of the time, but you cannot say that it is not true. If not, you would all be here. We all want to get that good education. We want that certificate because we believe that that piece of paper will bring us somewhere. Okay, will benefit us in one way or another. So that is also a theory that we live by every day. Okay, so that is what I say. Okay, that theory, okay, is more than just an assumption. Okay, it is supposed to help us live our everyday life because it can help us, for example, understand certain rules. Okay, and then it can also help us predict a certain situation. So theories are important if we understand how we need to apply them in our everyday life. Can you understand? All right, so this is just an introduction, all right, to make you realize that you have been living with theories every single day. Okay, but what we want to study here is not just any type of theory. We want to study scientific theories. Okay, so you can refer to your slides. All right, it's already in the Google Classroom. Yeah, this always happen. Hold on, I've already opened my slides, but it's not that. Let me try again. Hold on, okay. All right. Okay, can you see my slides? Okay, so this is the first topic, all right? We will discuss, okay, how to understand and evaluate mass communication theory. Okay, because you have to understand, like I said, theory is very a generic term. Every single person in the world has a theory. Okay, have every academic area, okay, or scholarship area, engineering, medicine, even the most scientific, okay, astronomy, they all have theories. Why? Because it is only human to understand things through relationships. Can you follow? Okay. So here, right? So today what you will be learning, okay, this is what you will be learning. Okay, I'm not going to go through that. You can read them. And later on, after we have finished the topic, you go back and see, have you understood all of these things? Okay. Here, all right, science and human behavior. Now, the word science, okay, is very, what we call it, significant. It has a very important value. Okay, why? Because science have helped humans to develop, okay, to become more, have better life, for example. Okay, but what is it? Okay, what is the difference between science and everyday life? Okay, science is always about things that has proof, evidence that is proven. Okay, so scientific discoveries, for example, okay, how to boil a water. You have to be specific, right? Boil water until what is the temperature? 100 Celsius. 100 Celsius, then it will be considered boiling water. Then many germs or viruses will die at that particular temperature. So how did they come up with that 100 Celsius? They have done many experiments. And every time they do a particular experiment, it has been proven to be true. That once the water reach 100 Celsius, it starts to boil. Can you understand? So it cannot be 99 Celsius. It has to be 100 Celsius. Okay? So those are science. That means it is a relationship that cannot be denied. That it is proven many times. It's very reliable. Can you follow? Science. Okay? And then when you study, for example, water, the component of water is what? H2O. One component hydrogen, two components oxygen. So water must be built by these two components, cannot be anything else. Okay, so that's why when we talk about science, usually it is undisputed. People don't argue, isn't it? You're right? When are you sick? When your body temperatures go higher than 37.6. Okay, some people say 38. After that, your body will become weak. All right? So it will happen to you, Ahmed. It will happen to Amira. It will happen to the Arab guy, to the Chinese guy, to the Malay guy. Every single human being, after they reach a certain temperature, then their body will become sick. Okay? So that is science. It's already proven. So what happens after you become sick? Okay? You go to the doctor, and then you get medicine. And then do you trust the medicine that the doctor gave you? They give you paracetamol, they give you Panadol. Most of the time you trust, isn't it? Right? If you don't trust, you don't go to the clinics. Okay? So when you trust them, why do you trust them? Because you believe this is scientific evidence. Can you follow? So if you are an engineer, if you are a doctor, most of the time you already have the privilege of being scientific. Okay? That whatever you say, you come out with, okay, people will trust. If they say if you are sick, you take paracetamol, okay, then people will trust your advice because they understand the term science. That means this has been proven. Can you follow? Okay,
Yes,
so we're talking about science. But us studying mass communication, are we science-based profession or science-based scholarship? We are not. Science. Okay, some call us humanities, some call us arts. Okay, but we want to be considered scientific. Okay, now what do I mean that we want to be considered scientific? Because we also, when we study media, when we study communication, or when psychologists or sociologists, okay, conduct their studies, they want to have the privilege, okay, or the trust that scientists get. Can you understand? All right. When scientists say you take paracetamol, you trust them. Okay. But when psychologists say you shouldn't hit your children, will you trust them or not? Some will trust, some won't. Okay. Your mother would say, oh, if I don't hit my children, they wouldn't be disciplined. What's wrong with hitting my children? My father hit me and look at me. I'm a very good person. So what does the psychologist know? Can you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so a psychologist, okay, unfortunately does not have the privilege of the scientists. Why? Why is psychology, sociology, us communication, media studies, for example, we say, oh, cannot watch too much, shouldn't be playing too much games and things like that. Okay, because we are studying human behavior. Okay, can you follow the difference here? Science.
Yes, madam.
Okay, but we still want that thing. Okay, we still want to be considered scientific. Okay, remember why I say we want to be scientific? Because we want to have that privilege, the trust, to gain people's trust. Okay, to have that credibility. So when we study, okay, relationships, okay, most of the time we consider ourselves as social scientists. Can you understand? So some people call this soft science, while medicine, engineering, hard science. Okay? Hard science, why? Because it's very specific. Okay? 2 plus 2 equals 4. 1 plus 1 equals 2. But when we talk about human behavior and we ask people about their relationship with other people, it's not necessarily fixed. Okay? So we are social scientists. Can you follow or not? Okay. So social science is a very wide and general discipline. Okay. All of those departments under our kuliah, psychology, sociology, history, communication, okay, anthropology are all under social science. So basically, we are related. We have the same DNA. Why? Because we all want to study human behavior. Okay? Can you follow? All right? So you will see later on that when we are all under social sciences, most of the time we share similar theories. Theories in psychology can be used in communication and can be used in sociology. All right? So social scientists, what do we study? We study causality. All right? We want to see how one factor influences another factor, even when there is an intervening variable. Okay? That means we want to study, okay, what is the influence of going to the university on students? Okay? What is going to a university will help students become more successful. We want to see the causality. Okay? What is the causes? The causes is going to university. Go to university, you become successful. But always we understand the relationship, the causality is not that simple. So sometimes we don't only look at one factor, we look at multiple factors. And we call this intervening variable. Yes, okay, going to university can help you be successful, but there are many other factors that will influence this. For example, gender, okay, social economic status. Probably, maybe, okay, underprivileged students will find it harder to keep up with classes. Okay, they cannot join online class. Okay, so they will have less chance of being successful. All right, but again, like I said just now, right, because we're studying humans, we assume that the less privileged student will have lack opportunity. But because this underprivileged student is human, maybe he has a very high drive, so he can also be successful. So what I'm trying to say is that causality is there, but it's not fixed. It is not like science. Okay, science is fixed, right? So we want to study the relationship. Okay, we want to study first causality, right? A causes B. Go to university, become successful. Right? But because we also understand that there are many other influences, okay, we want to also look at the relationship. Okay, when the alterations in a particular variable under specific conditions always produce the same effect in another variable. Okay, so what we want to look at, okay, is not just if there is a causality, whether there is a relationship. That means it is reliable, that you can believe that this will happen. All right, they always produce the same effect in another variable. Okay. Okay, now this one may confuse you between causality and causal relationship. Okay, causality just now, okay, we say going to the university will make you successful. There is causality, all right? But, okay, when can we say that there is a causal relationship? It is after you have studied 10,000 university students and you discovered, yes, all right, 8,000 actually became successful. So there is a relationship. Can you follow? Understand?
Madam, so causal relationship is basically the result of causality?
Yes, okay. Causality starts with the assumption. Okay? The assumption is you go university, you become successful. But it is not proven. How to prove it? You have to do research. And the research will show you if there is a relationship or not. How to find the relationship? You must look at the causality in many variables, in many different people. Can you understand? Okay, that you have studied 10,000 people in your IA, in IIUM, and yes, they have become successful. So there is that relationship. So the point here is we want to prove that causality. How to prove that causality that it exists? We must look at whether there is the relationship. How to do this? By using scientific methods. This is very important. Because remember, I mentioned just now, we want to be considered scientific. We want people to trust our research. By we, I mean social scientists. In comparison to scientists. Okay, I've already made that distinction just now. Okay, so because we're studying humans, right, but we want to be considered scientists, we say, okay, if I make this causality, if I make this assumption, I will prove it. This is not just my mother's theory. Okay, I am going to use a specific method so that I can observe, okay, and prove that what I say is true. Okay, so this is where there is a difference between your mother's theories, okay, and academic theories and scientific theories. Your mother says don't sit in front of the stairs. Your mother says go wash your feet. Okay, but did she use any scientific method? Okay, yes, she relationship between washing feet and having nightmare. What must she do? She must do the research. She must prove there is the relationship. So she must, for example, probably must study 100 children. Okay, look at 100 children who has washed their feet, and when they sleep, do they get nightmare or not? Can you follow now? Okay.
Yes, madam.
Yes?
Yes,
Anybody
madam.
has a question? Okay. So here, causality just now, your mother's theory, wash feet, no nightmare. But you must prove that relationship. Is it true or not? Then you must have scientific methods. These scientific methods everyday people don't use, isn't it? Right? Your mother did not observe 100 children before she made that assumption. But if you truly believe in what she says, or you don't believe it, and you want to find the truth, you must take and use this scientific method. You must study hundreds of children, okay, thousands of children across different cultures. Okay, and then you must study, okay, in relation to what other people have studied. Can you follow? So we want to be trusted and credible. Just like when people trust scientists, we want them to trust us as social scientists. So how can we build that trust? By guaranteeing that when we make an assumption, it is not just an everyday assumption, that it has been proven through scientific method. Okay, but of course there are so many methods. All right. Now, this is not what we're going to focus on. What you need to focus is you already understand here what we mean by social science. Okay. Can you follow? So when we have done all this, then we can come up with hypothesis. Okay. The hypothesis is testable prediction. Okay. We can say, yes, the more children wash their feet before they go to sleep, the less they will get nightmare. So the relationship is already like a mathematical equation. Can you understand? Just like a scientific equation. It is no longer just an assumption, no longer just a causality, it is now a hypothesis. The more you wash your feet, the less you get nightmare. This is already my hypothesis. So everywhere you go to the Arab boy, you go to the Chinese boy, you will have to see this prediction. He need to wash his feet a lot of time that night to see whether he get nightmare or not. Okay? So what we are doing is actually studying everyday behaviors, human behaviors, but we need to prove it. Okay? That when we have this assumption, when we have this causality, we need to prove it. Okay? So that is why we take scientific methods. That's why we call ourselves social scientists. So when you do research, okay, this is what sets you apart from your mom. Can you understand? Your mom has a theory. You may use the same theory, but your theory is now scientific. Okay? So if you have done all this, then you can claim that whatever you are doing is empirical. That means when I say that the relationship, okay, that washing your feet at night before going to sleep will not cause you or will help you from getting nightmare, that is an empirical statement. What does it mean? Because I can prove it. I've done the research on 100 children across the world. Can you get what I'm saying? What we mean by empirical, that the statement I've made is verified. Okay, and I have many evidences to prove my statement. Okay, can follow or not? All right?
Yes, madam.
Okay, so this is very important, okay, for you to understand, okay, what we mean by theory. Okay, the theory is what helped us start at the first place. You know, this causality is the theory, our assumption. Okay, but later on you will understand that when we use we want to do research, we use scientific theories. We cannot just assume and make it up in our heads. No, we must identify theories that are already established. We must use empirical theories. That means if you want to study about washing your feet and then not getting nightmares, you must read so many research. You must read books. You must see, have other people done this, the same study. And if they have done the study, what theory did they use? Can you follow? You cannot happily create one in your head. Okay? All right. So I hope you understand this. Okay? So you understand the differences between science and social science. And you understand that what we are trying to do is to create, okay, to identify empirical evidences. Right? So social science, yeah? So it's not just in your head. It must be supported by research, okay? All right, why do I put these two old men here? Okay? This is a very boring story lah. Okay, it's just to say, okay, for example, okay, this photo was taken in 2018. Okay, the assumption was what? This one will become the prime minister. Okay, but this is just assumption. How can social scientists prove he will become PM or not? This is the differences between social science and science. If it is science, all right, we can already know, okay? if it is something that is fixed like science. We can know exactly whether he will become PM or not PM. But we are social science. We're studying human relationship. He can change his mind 1,000 times. He would change his mind another 1,000 times. Can you get what I'm saying? But can we try to make an assumption? Yes, we can. How? Because we need to do proper research. We need to study. For example, we study him. Okay, and then we look at, analyze at every single political decisions that he has made throughout his life. And then we study him and look at his political decisions. And then we can try to come out with a particular, relationship. Although maybe our result, okay, we say, for example, okay, maybe one day he will become, based on my studies, okay, he will become. But turned out that he did not, okay? So will that undermine my study? Not necessarily, if I can prove that what assumption I made was empirical. That when I say that one day this guy is going to be the PM, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, the assumption is made by thousands of evidences, investigations that I have conducted. Can you follow or not? Okay. But again, like I said, that is the not really downside. Okay, that is the unique thing about social science. It's never 100%. Okay, it's not like science. Can you follow? Okay. All right. So what is the challenge of scientific method? Okay, basically, what is the challenge to us social scientists? Okay, why can't we be like science? Why can't we be very decisive, very factual? It's very simple, because we are studying humans. Human behavior are quite difficult to measure, isn't it? All right? We change our minds almost every day. Sometimes you can't even predict yourself. Okay? You may think, for example, you are a strong person. Okay, but if tomorrow, okay, I send you into a horror house with real ghosts, real shaitan, do you think you will be strong or not? You don't know. You may think you are strong now, but when it comes to the realities, you don't know. So when it's hard for you to understand yourself, it's much harder for another person to understand you, and what more, to understand groups of humans. So it is very hard for us to measure. The thing about being scientific is that everything must be measurable. Okay, what do we mean by measurable? Because everything is in a very, definite component. Like we said just now. To boil water, 100 Celsius, measurable. Okay, whether you are sick or not, measurable. Okay, by what? Okay, by your temperature. Okay, by the kind of headache that you have, everything can be measured. Can you understand? But how do we measure people? Okay, can you measure how happy you are this morning? Yes, now you can say, right, 1 to 50. Okay, we use the scale. That's why we try to use the scale. We try to measure human behaviors. That's why you see social science research always do survey, and they ask you to answer from strongly disagree to strongly agree. That is because they try to measure. But of course, when you answer, do you measure? Or do I strongly disagree? Or do I strongly agree? When you answer, you just make, which one you feel like it, right? Okay? So it is very hard for us to measure. Okay? How religious are you? Yes, you can measure. Do I pray 5 times a day? Do I give the zakat? Do I fast during Ramadan? Okay, but unfortunately, tools of measure, some people will say that's not religious enough. Okay, so being religious is also quite what we call it subjective. How do you measure religiosity? Okay, and then our behavior is very complex, isn't it? Okay, how many of you laugh when you are sad? How many of you cry when you are happy? Okay, how many of you prefer to watch K-pop? Many of you. Some of you would prefer to watch Hindustan. Okay, some prefer Hollywood. We have different tastes, different interests, so we are very complex, isn't it? All right, and not only we are complex, we are always ever changing. I like K-pop today, I don't like K-pop tomorrow. Okay, and humans have goals and are self-reflexive. Okay, so when we answer survey questions, for example, okay, it depends on our goals of the day. Okay, I just want to finish this survey questionnaire. Okay, I don't have any desire to answer this questionnaire. So when we put, okay, we don't put our all to answering the questionnaire. Okay, and sometimes, okay, the simple notion of causality is troubling when it is applied to ourselves. Okay, what do we mean by this? Okay, especially when you are the social scientist. Okay, you want to do a research. Okay, you want to do a research on the influence of Netflix on IIUM students. So most of you are on Netflix, right? Okay. So what do you think? Do you think the influence of Netflix is positive or negative? Humaira?
I think
Can
both.
be both, positive or negative.
Yes, positive and
Okay,
negative.
probably you would say, oh, it would be negative, okay, when you watch all those sexual content. All right, but almost everything on Netflix is sexual, isn't it? Right, you just switch on Netflix and then all the titles and all the images will be very sexual. But when Humaira watches these titles, she would think, oh, I'm very smart, I'm an adult, I'm a Muslim, I will watch, but I'm not going to do anything like that. Okay, because you don't feel that the effect would be on you. But then Humaira would probably think, oh, but my little brother shouldn't watch Netflix. Okay, or my little sister or my nephews cannot watch this because it's bad for them. They're not smart enough like I am. I'm sure most of you have that feelings also, right? When you watch Netflix, okay, when you watch contents that are basically not Islamic. And most of the time you watch haram content, right? You watch or not haram content? Huh? No lah, huh? No haram content, only halal wa tayyiban. Okay? But when you watch it, you feel like, oh, I'm not being a bad Muslim. Isn't it, right? You always find some justification to defend yourself. Okay? So this is also a challenge for scientists. Okay? Or when you answer survey questions. Okay? Is Netflix bad for you? Probably say sometimes, most of the time, no. Is Netflix bad for your little brother and sisters? Then you probably say yes. Okay, so how come your values, okay, is changes when it is applied on you? Okay, so there's a theory for this. It's called the third person effects. Okay, the third person effects theory says we always assume that media affects other people more than you. Okay, isn't this what you feel? That the media, K-pop, or everything, nothing to do, it doesn't affect me. Okay, I don't blame the K-pop, okay, for me buying 10,000 ringgit worth of products to look like I've been bleached. All right. I don't blame K-pop. I'm a very it's a smart, intelligent choice on my part. Okay. Most of the time we're quite defensive when it is related to us. Can you understand? Okay. All right. So what is theory? Okay. There is so many ways for you to define theories. Okay. But it is actually any organized set of concepts, explanations, and principles of some aspect of human experience. This is in relation to social science. Okay, in science, in engineering, in medicine, okay, they have their own scientific theories. Okay, but okay, when we talk about science, social science theories, okay, different school of thoughts will define theory in different ways, depending on the needs of the theories and on beliefs about the social world and the natural knowledge. Now, what does this mean? Like I said just now, right? We are humans trying to study other humans. Okay? So, how do we create a theory? For example, all right, when we come up with the theory, okay, that watching so much Western content will westernize the Muslim audiences. Okay? So that is, we start off with that theory. Okay, some people will agree that is a theory, some people does not agree that is a theory. Okay, some people agree with that relationship, some won't. Okay, because why? Because people have different interpretations. Okay, so when we want to understand a theory, okay, there are certain things that we need to consider. While theories can be any aspect of a human experience, when it comes to scientific theories, okay, we must look at whether the theory is relatable or not. Okay, when you want, okay, because you have to understand, right? We have thousands of theories. We will not be able to cover all these theories in this particular course. Okay, but what you should be able to do after taking this course is understand theory in general. Okay, which theory fits your research work? Okay, so how to know which theory fits or not? First, we look at the goal of the theory. Can you understand? Okay, so is the theory trying to solve the problems that you want to solve? Okay, some theories, okay, try to only just explain a relationship, but some theory, okay, can be very what we call it bias. That means they already assume, okay, when we say media causes negative effect on the Muslims, we are already biased. So the goal of the theory is already trying to prove someone is wrong. Trying to say that the Western media is wrong. Okay? Can you follow or not? Okay? So the goals of the theory is very different. If there is a theory, for example, that talks about, okay, the media effects, okay, users and gratification. So the theory says, okay, the way we use media depends on how we are satisfied with it. So the goal of this theory is not to be negative or positive. It is just to explain a particular relationship. Okay? And theories have different ontology. What do we mean by ontology? Okay? Ontology is what the view of the nature of reality, what is knowable and worth knowing. Okay? Some things, okay, can be what we call it, okay, how do we see reality? Okay, especially when the researcher is doing the research. Do you see reality as something that is far from you? Okay, that means I want to study what we call it. Just now we talk about the effects of media, right? can we study the effects of media? Okay, what is the nature of reality? Okay, does it mean that when I study the effects of media, I am part of this reality? Okay, so when I am, or am I not part of this reality? Okay, so when you use something like a theory like uses and gratification I mentioned just now, you see, okay, nature as something that you want to study, but you are the observer. You are not part of what is being observed. Okay, so this is quite scientific. Okay, what do we mean by this? All right, it means, okay, the theories. Can you, okay, when you want to study, okay, the effects of media on the Muslims, you are a Muslim, right? But you want to study the effects of media on the Muslims. Now, is this thing that you want to study apart from your own reality? Why is this important? Okay, because when you do the study later on, you need to do analysis, right? Okay, and then you will say, oh, there is a negative effect. But when you say that there is a negative effect, your interpretation of that negativity, is it based on your reality? Can you understand what I'm trying to say or not? Is it being influenced by your own realities? If you say, okay, that the media has a negative effect on the Muslims, and the assumption or the conclusion that you make came from your own understanding and beliefs as a Muslim, okay, then your reality is already that you are already part of that reality. So you need to identify theories that will say, okay, when I make that judgment, I am right, okay, that I am not being biased. Okay, this may be quite confusing.
Madam, may I ask a question regarding this? So when we say that there should be no biasness because of our own reality, as you state, however, if a person does conduct research and does come to a conclusion as to how media affects, let's say, Muslims in this case, when we research and we look at certain subjects, would it be okay to generalize the Muslim population being affected by media? Or could we say that most Muslims are affected? Is it okay to generalize a hypothesis, for instance?
Okay, all right. Okay, so very good question. Okay, so that is why, okay, later on, okay, after this, you will see that there are categories of theories. Say, some theories allow us to generalize, to say all Muslims or most Muslims. Okay, but some theories would not allow us to generalize because they say you cannot generalize, you need to prove. If you say all Muslims are being negatively affected, give me the numbers. Okay? So there is different types of theories. So that is why we're trying to understand here. Okay, for example, okay, your ontology. Okay, so your ontology, you believe that when you do the study, okay, you feel very affected. You find out, I don't like what the media is doing to my Muslim brothers and sisters. So you will need to find a theory. For example, later on, you will see there is a critical and cultural theory. So the critical and cultural theory allows you to make this generic assumption and allows you to have a personal investment in your findings. Can you understand? Okay, but there is another more scientific theories that say you are not part of this reality. You cannot make bias. When you find out, when you do the research, you only give findings based on what you see. You cannot put your own faith and your own culture in the interpretations. Can you follow? So here it is just saying there will be many theories, but when you want to choose a theory, you must look at the ontology. That means how the theory defines reality. Never mind, later on you will see this when we talk about the different categories of theories. Okay, and how to define theories. Different theories will use different methods. Okay, epistemology. Okay. So for example, just now, if you believe that you are part of this reality, it will influence the methods that you use. Probably you will use what we call it more qualitative methods. Okay, you will use observations. Okay, but on the other hand, if you feel that you are far from this reality, you want to be very objective in your studies, you would probably just do a survey. Okay, why? Because the survey, you write the survey, the Muslims who are not you will answer the survey, and you will get the percentages, okay, the descriptive result based on
Madam,
that.
can I ask?
Sure. Yes? Somebody have a question just now? All right, never mind. If you have a question, you can ask. Or maybe if you're too shy, you can write at the chat box. Yeah.
Is it the reality is same? Yes, me.
Yeah, sure. Okay, your question? Yes, Siti?
I want to ask about the reality.
Mm-hmm. Yes? Is something wrong with the connection? Okay, Ola. All right, maybe something wrong with her connection. Never mind, you can keep your questions later or you can write it in the chat box, yeah? It's okay, you can ask, no problem. All right? I will just continue, okay? Later on, can still ask, okay? So your methods must match the, what we call it, the theory, right? Okay? So if you use survey, for example, like I said just now, survey is very objective. The result that you get from the survey is the result from the, what we call it, respondents, not from you. Okay? If the 70% respondents who answered your survey questionnaire says that they are positively affected by Western media, then that is the result you're going to share. Whether you believe or don't believe the particular result. Understand? Okay. So what is her question here? Okay, is it based on our experiences? Yes, it is based on our experiences. Okay, but later on you will study. Okay, here what we are doing is actually we want to look at the different types of theories, how to choose theories. So if you are someone who feels that when I do research, I cannot deny my experience. Okay, I cannot deny my culture, I cannot deny my religion. All of these things, okay, will definitely influence the result of the research that I do. When I interpret a particular result, a particular research, then you will need to find a theory that allows you to include your realities in your research work. Yes? Can you understand? All right, yes, it is based on your experience. But here, I'm talking about whether the theory that you want to use allows you to include your own realities. Okay? And when we want to choose theory, so does the theory allow us, okay, to include our own values, okay? Their view of the proper role of human values in research and theory building. Now, when you do a research, what is the values? Do you go into the research wanting to change the world? Do you go into doing the research with the desire, I want to help my Muslim brothers and sisters? Okay, when I want to do this research, I want to show that the Western world is trying to do bad things to us, for example. If you go into that research with that particular values, then you must find a theory that support those values. Okay, but sometimes you're very objective. You want to be as scientific as possible. You want to be like scientists, like medicines, right? Like engineers. Okay, they don't put their values. Okay, when they come out, this medicine is morally right or morally wrong. Okay, so if you feel that I can do things very objectively, okay, whatever result that I find, okay, my religion is not going to be influenced I am not going to influence those results, then you must find a theory that is quite positive, that is very objective. Okay, so here this may be quite confusing to you, all right? But maybe when we discuss this, okay, it will become clear, right? Now, there are, like I said, many theories, okay? Thousands of theories in social sciences. So which one do you choose? Okay? But when we talk about communication studies, actually also this one, it applies to social science, okay? There are 4 main categories. Okay, out of those thousands of theories, they can be under one of these categories. Okay, and this is very important. If you understand these categories, inshallah, you will be able to understand, or you will be able to use these other little thousands of theories, all right? We have post-positivist theories, all right? This is considered the dominant paradigm. That means most people would use this theory, all right? It's the most popular theory, okay? Because it is a theory based on empirical observation guided by scientific method. Okay, but the word here is post-positivist. Positivist or positivism is actually related to science. Science is a positivist area of scholarship. It means that it is based on facts, okay, and clear judgment, and objective, what we call it, investigation. But because we are social science, we take the idea of post-positivism. Okay, that means we are very scientific, we measure, we are objective, but we cannot deny that there is this human error in our studies. Okay, that it cannot be 100% correct. Okay, but the key here is what? Post-positivist tries to be as scientific as possible. Remember I told you what scientific is, right? Everything must use proper method. Everything must be measurable. Everything must be objective. Now, if you want to use theories that are post-positivist in nature, okay, you must understand, okay, that this theory, okay, views reality as apart from you. You cannot put your own beliefs, your own understanding, your own realities, your own values in your study. An example of this theory, like I mentioned just now, we will also cover it many times later, okay, is the theory of uses and gratification. Okay, in general, this theory says, okay, people, humans, okay, what we do with the media depends on how we are satisfied by the media. Okay, so if, for example, Muslim brothers in UIA, okay, becomes more westernized after they watch Netflix, okay, or after they watch a particular drama, a particular film, okay, then the result will only stick to that. It means that the Muslim brothers, they were happy. Okay, they become more westernized, but that's not a problem at all because it is based on their choice. They wanted to watch the movie, they like it. So you understand what I'm saying here? Then the theory does not put their values. We do not blame the Western media, we do not blame the boys. But we can see there is a relationship that when Muslim brothers in UIA watch Netflix, yeah, I don't know lah, watch series you watch. They watch something, they watch a movie on Netflix and they become westernized after that. That is just the relationship, and we stop at that. We're not going to condemn because we believe that the reality is that, the reality is objective. Okay, I'm not going to put my values. Can you follow so far? Okay. On the other hand, we have critical theory. Critical theory starts off being biased. So critical theory here, the goal is to find somebody's fault and somebody must be accountable. So their view of reality, okay, is not as objective as post-positivists because they already define their reality. Reality is somebody is doing something and we need to prove it. Okay, we agree with critical theory that say Netflix is a bad or negative influence on Muslim brothers. This is already my belief. So when I go into that research, I want to prove my beliefs. Can you understand the difference or not? Okay, so this is what we say, okay, ontology, axiology, okay, so this is how we differentiate between post-positivist theory and critical theory. Can you follow or not so far? All right. Okay, don't worry, a little bit more. All right. Okay, from critical theory, we have another theory, cultural theory. Okay. So cultural theory is the basically middle, what we call it, path between critical and post-positivists. Okay. Critical theory tries to be objective. Okay. But they understand that we are studying human natures. Okay. That when I say, okay, when we want to study, okay, the relationship between what we call it, Muslim brothers and Netflix, they cannot deny there is a relationship. Okay. But they are not as hardcore as critical. Okay. Remember here when we study the relationship, we just study relationship. We say, oh yes, there is a relationship. Yes, they are happy. Okay, yes, they become more westernized. Okay, that's it. Okay, I'm not going to judge. But here, if we study that relationship, we already start by judging. This is wrong. We cannot accept. You know, Netflix is doing all this to our brothers. I'm going to show you how. Oh, because after they watch this, they wear more, what we call it, they try to color their hair. Then this is what we are doing here. Then our values, our ontologies are all what we call it invested in the study. On the other hand, cultural theory, okay, it is more balanced lah. Okay, they say, oh yes, I agree, there must be some kind of effects. But to say that there is effects, okay, I must study more closely. I cannot say that there is a negative effects on all Muslim brothers. So I must study in more depth that probably it will be negative to some brothers, but not all brothers. Can you understand? All right, so I'm just giving you a general understanding. All right, later on we'll go one by one in different chapters. Okay, but here it is just trying to show you that there is these different categories. Okay, these are major categories. And all the thousands of theories that are available at the moment will be under one of these categories. Okay, and lastly, okay, this one is quite unique. Okay, it's not. This is also quite objective in nature. Okay. This is the normative theory. It is theory explaining how a media system should be structured and operated in order to conform to or realize a set of ideal social values. So all of these theories, okay, normative theory is actually working with the ideal relationship. What should be? Okay. So the normative theories would start with the assumption that in Malaysia, okay, for example, the media should assert positive influences on the Muslim youth. Okay, because they believe in the ideal. All right. So this is quite different. Normative theory is quite different when you compare with these other three. Okay, these other three tries to prove, tries to study, tries to understand a particular relationship. Normative theory tries to assume what is the best relationship. Right? Okay, never mind. If you cannot understand, we will study this in coming weeks, all right? Okay, can follow? Right? Is it stressful already? All right, should be okay. So here, the 4 trends in media theory. Now, here, okay, don't be confused. This is the categories of theory, right? But before we get to these categories of theories, okay, to better understand, okay, why there are these different categories, okay, we need to look at the history. Okay, so how to understand the implication of theories in the study of media communication? Okay, we can look at the history. For example, all right, when did we start? When did media or communication become an area of study? All right, it is only in the early 1800s, the mid 1800s until the 1950s. That means the history of media is not that old, just it's still quite young. Okay, it's not like sociology or psychology, they have longer history. It was only here that, you know, scholars or the elites, who are the elites, you know, rich people, people with power, they started to be quite concerned with the effect of the media. Okay, because it's only here that there is the term modern mass media. This is when you first have newspapers, okay, and then broadcast, radio, and television. Before that, there's no need to talk about this relationship because there's no mass media. There's media, there's books, okay? But you can see the differences between the influence of books and the influence of television. Which would have a faster, more rapid influence? Book or television?
Television.
Of course, television. Why? Because television in general is mass in nature. What is mass? Broadcast. That means everybody watches the same TV program. If we talk about books, I need to produce 10,000 books so that 10,000 people can read it. But with television, you air the program, then 1 million can watch it at the same time, isn't it? So the influence for TV is mass. But this is traditional. Today, our media is not mass anymore. But we're talking about history. And suddenly, then the politicians, okay, the leaders, the scholars, they were becoming very interested because they can see that society has changed. All right? Because now, the people, okay, of course, we're talking about Western history, specifically in the US. Okay, during this time, 1800s, 1950s, most of us, our country are still being colonized. No TV for us. We're still in the village, all right? But in the US, they're already experiencing industrialization. So that is why, okay, the study of media originates from the US. That's why the theories that you will learn, the textbook that you use, okay, not just in media theory, in most of the courses under communication and social science comes from the US. Because they were the first to study. Okay? So media and communication becomes a medium, is a focus to study. Can you follow? All right? But because it's a new medium then, in the 1800s, so they don't know what kind of relationship or causality that they can find. So they just assume that there is a mass influence. That in general, TV, negative effects. All right, because they can see at that time, in those early 1900s US, the society changed drastically. All right. For example, okay, they believe, okay, the media, especially through industrialization, is disrupting peaceful rural communities and forcing people to live in urban areas merely to serve as convenient workforce in large factories, mines, and bureaucracies. Okay? So they believe, okay, that the media subvert and disrupt the existing social order. Now, what does this mean? Okay, before industrialization, the US also is a very rural community. You know, they stay at home, they stay in their village, they stay with their families. Okay, and they're very closed. And now suddenly they got to watch Hollywood movies. Okay, and they start to see commercialization. And this changed their minds. And they wanted to go where? They wanted to go to the city. They wanted to have a life like what they see in the movies. Okay, so what happens then? Then these what we call it Americans, the elites especially, those that are studying the media, they say this is an issue, this is a problem. Why is it a problem? Because the people are changing, and when they change, they disrupt. That means they what we call it, disrupt. They disrupt the existing social order. And the media is doing this. Media is making them go to the cities. Media is making them go against their leaders. Okay, media is making them go against their cultures. Can you follow? But the problem with mass society, this is a theory, right? Is that it is not scientific. It is made based on assumption and observation. Okay. So when things became more developed, the media has a longer, for example, the people have a longer experience with the media. Then they started to include scientific research. So you come into a second trend. The first trend here says about powerful effects, mass society. Media gives mass influence. Media is negative. Okay, but by the 1930s, there were a group of researchers that say, hey, don't make those assumptions. If you say there is an effect, show the evidence. Okay, so what kind of theory is this? This is the start of positivism. Okay, they start to feel that whatever relationship or assumptions that you make must be based on evidence. So when you use evidence, they say, okay, if you say there is an effect, how do you measure these effects? Okay, so this is introduced by Paul Lazarsfeld. Okay, he started to extensively use what? Survey questionnaires. Okay, if here the researchers make the assumption. Here, the researchers have to go to the field and ask the people. If you say the media affects all of these Americans, you must go down and ask those Americans. Okay, how did the media affect them? Can you follow or not? Okay, so when you start and ask people, then people will obviously give specific answers. No one will say, yes, the media negatively affect me. All right. They will say, yes, the media affects me, but there will be some justification. So here they start to say, actually, the media has limited effects. Because media will generally affect some group of people differently from another group of people. Can you follow? Limited effects. All right. So from mass, one extreme, very powerful influence. On another extreme, they say the influence is very limited. But who did all this research? The Americans. Okay, and these are also the Americans who have the idea of industrialization. That means they want development. Okay, so they don't want to see media as something that is negative, because media can be very beneficial to development. Okay, and they believe with these limited effects, if you use media properly, you can actually create sometimes influences that are beneficial. Okay, but by the 1960s, there was a new trend. Okay, from very powerful effects to limited effects to critical cultural trend. Okay, you must see this as a historical development. This is the 1960s. What was happening in the world in the 1960s? Okay, there was the Cold War. You know the Cold War?
Yeah, between Russia and America.
Yeah, okay. Russia and America, mostly between capitalism and communism. So you have to remember, I said all these histories is very American. This is how the Americans were experiencing development. Look at the media. But by the 1960s, there was another group of people that are looking at the media. So these are the people who have a different experiences from the Americans. So mostly the critical cultural trend is very much related to Marxism. You know what's Marxism? Karl Marx. You know who's Karl Marx? Okay, the father of socialism and communism. So you have another perspective coming in. So you have this group of people, they have experienced being under communists. And then they have experienced how the Americans were trying to use the media to propagate, to distribute their propaganda all around the world. So who won the Cold War? Very easy answer. Who won the Cold War?
Americans.
Obviously, the Americans. How do we want to know? Okay, what is the proof that the American won the Cold War? Look at the movies you are watching. Is it American or Russian? The music that you are listening to, the book that you are reading, they are all Americans. So this is where the critical cultural theory comes in. So this, what we call it, researchers, they were mostly non-Americans. They were mostly coming from Germany, and they say, hey, you know what, this media thing, this media is not objective. Media is an American tool. Media is being used by the Americans to control the world. Because in the 1960s, probably your grandparents, they were still living in rural Malaysia, but they already know who's Elvis at that time. They are already wearing bell bottoms because they were already influenced through the media, the American media. We don't hear of the Russian media, the Japanese media. Yes, we can talk about K-pop today, but K-pop is still pop. And pop music is American. Okay, so this is where I said just now. You can use this theory by saying, you know, the media is already biased, and I'm going to prove it. Can you follow? All right. So far, all right. But of course, if you want to talk about Marxism, that is quite hardcore. All right. So here, the idea of Marxism is just being used as the foundation of critical cultural theories. Okay, but these theories have evolved and has developed today to become not that communist inclined. Okay, and recently the most contemporary is the meaning-making trend. This meaning-making trend, some people also consider is cultural studies. Okay, because they feel like, you know, if you say that the media is so powerful, okay, if the media is controlling the people, you are also saying that people are weak. Okay, and that is not right either. Yes, you can blame the American media for being evil, satanic, whatever, but at the same time, as the audiences, do you have power? Right? So this theory say when we want to look at the effects of media, for example, you must truly understand and study the audiences. Okay. Yes, I like K-pop. Okay, but some people make K-pop nasyid. Is there such things? Okay, probably got. Okay, nasyid pop. So you have Islamized the content. So you bring different meaning to the American music. So it can't be all that bad, can it? All right? Because we look at the world that we live in today, okay? Yes, we are very Americanized, all right? But at the same time, we also see that we are also becoming more Islamized. Okay, if you compare you and your parents and your grandparents, I'm sure your grandma or your mother probably, because you are young, okay, maybe my generation, okay, my mother, my grandmother, they never wear tudung. They don't put on this You know, they don't talk about this wearing shawl or aura, okay, because it was a different time. But you can see, okay, that the Muslims are becoming, in one way, quite Islamized. But while they are Islamized, they are also becoming Westernized. So that means there is no way to say that it's very negative or very positive. Sometimes it is in the middle. Okay. All right, I think that is enough of theory for one day. Okay, any questions? All right, yes? No question. Okay, so
Madam, I have a question regarding the class itself.
yes.
This is my first class. I haven't attended the previous class,
Mhm.
so I do not know exactly the assignments or thing which will be held. So is there any way I can access that information?
All right, sure. Okay, so we have a Google Classroom. All right, I will share with you here. Okay, hold on. Can you see this, Ahmad?
Yes, madam. I'll just take the code.
Okay, so the code I've already shared in the chat box. Okay, so for those who are like Ahmad, who's new, all right, so the first thing you do is you go here, all right, and you read these coursework details, okay, and the course outline. The details are all already in here, okay, so you can read that through, all right. I'm not going to discuss them again today, but okay, I will be discussing them throughout the semester. What will happen, I think, by next week is I will divide you into your assignment groups. Maybe then you will become more anxious to know about your assignments. Okay? Once you start working on it, then we can continuously discuss it during class. Right? But most importantly, go to the classroom, join the classroom and access the notes. Okay, so you can get access to the slides. And like I've told everyone also, we have a textbook. Okay, I already shared, you can see it in the reference list. But it's okay for you to have or not have if you are able to follow the lectures closely. Okay, there are ways to get the books online, but I'm not going to tell you. Okay, you can find it yourself. You can buy the book, it's easily available in Amazon or any bookstores, but it is quite expensive. Okay? All right, any other questions? Yeah, if not, that is it today. All right, we end the class with Tasbih Kafara wal As. Okay, I will share the lecture later. Okay, you can watch it lah later. All right? Okay. All right, Assalamualaikum. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Have a nice day, madam.
Thank you, madam.